Hello everyone, welcome back to another video and welcome to Eryri National Park, where today I am following the Snowdonia Slate Trail through the industrial landscape of the national park. A landscape that I absolutely love to photograph, so really hopeful and optimistic about the photography today. The weather is changeable, which is good for photography, as they say. Good weather is bad weather, and bad weather is good weather when it comes to photography. But that's not what I want to talk about today. Today, I want to talk about a topic and a part of the photography process that I don't feel is spoken about enough, especially here on YouTube. I'll tell you what, the view down the Penmachno Valley here is absolutely bonkers beautiful, but the elevation gain on this trail at the beginning is quite brutal. So I'm gonna take off my heavy bag and just sit here for a bit of a breather and just divulge a little bit more about today's topic, which is just about how we compose images and how we use our camera to help with composition. It's important to think about a lot of technical things when dealing with exposure. You know, what aperture are you going to use? What shutter speed are you going to use? What ISO are you going to use? What focal length are you going to use? All of those things play such an integral role in the image making process. However, how you actually compose that image, regardless of all of those settings, is arguably going to make a massive difference to the final image. And that is whether you're going to compose through your optical viewfinder or your viewfinder on your camera, or using the, LCD screen, the flippy screen on the back of the camera. It's probably something that people don't even really consciously think about, but I think we should think about it because the results can vary pretty wildly. I don't know if you can see on the screen here, but this is the bonkers view down the Penmachno Valley that I was talking about. It's a valley that is definitely less explored when it comes to some of the quarrying, sites here in the national park. I think most landscape photographers are always gravitating towards places like Norway, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, very famous, very well documented. And the galleries there are just absolutely stunning. It's no wonder that it is so heavily photographed. But I think there are so many opportunities to get some more, original, unique, whatever you want to call it, but photos that are maybe less likely to be seen on social media and online. And that's kind of what today's trail is. I'm taking in some of the more obscure areas, the quieter areas, and I just think it's nice to go off the beaten track a little bit and challenge yourself to photograph something different. It's too easy to be influenced by, some of these very famous compositions and very famous sites, whereas coming somewhere like this, which I've not seen any photos of, I'm not likely to be influenced, and that might make my photography just feel a little bit fresher for me. So anyway, let's carry on up this trail. So my plan today is to explore a pretty small area. It's only a 2-mile hike, and the reason for that is because here in Eryri National Park, you may know, but if you haven't been here before, then the most important thing that I can tell you about this area of North Wales is that the weather changes in the blink of an eye. You can get all 4 seasons in one day quite easily, and for a location like this, that completely changes the photos. You could be photographing one scene and the weather might completely change how that scene photographs, and because of that, there's no point in kind of stretching yourself too thin in terms of trying to cover a lot of ground. For me, I much prefer just working in a smaller area and give myself time for conditions to change and just see how that impacts the photography. Gives me more time to kind of finesse and find compositions that are quite strong, as opposed to just racing to the next one hoping that there's something better around the next corner. So that's kind of the mission statement for today, because although we've only been walking for like an hour, you can see even from the earlier shots that the weather's changed. The wind has picked up, the rain has come in, but it's what it's all about. I love North Wales. I love Eryri National Park. Could you tell? So speaking of changeable conditions, I'm really trying to lean into the conditions for this particular photo. I'm waiting for the wind to pick up because it's blowing all of these really new, vibrantly green ferns, and I've just managed to find this kind of like rusty old outlet pipe and all of this slate, and it's a really nice little scene. It's quite a intimate scene in so much that it is, you know, quite cropped in. It's really kind of picking up on the features of the landscape, but I'm just waiting for the wind to pick up so I can shoot it at a slower shutter speed of around 2 seconds or so. I have put on a ND filter and a circular polarizer just to bring out some of the vibrancy and the color, and I'm just messing around with shutter speeds. Yeah, around 2 seconds at the moment, and then I'm just firing off a couple of frames, and yeah, hopefully it will make for quite a nice shot. It's always nice to play around with abstraction in some of your photos and really just kind of lean into the elements, because that can often add a lot more, what's the word? It can be quite evocative in images, put it that way. It really helps illustrate how the conditions are kind of impacting what you're shooting. So yeah, I'll pop that image up on screen now. So I know many of you guys who are watching are probably into landscape photography. Some of you may even dabble with video and YouTube. And I would be keen to know if you'd be so kind as to help me out. But I'm looking for a new camera bag. I love this Shimoda, but it's a little bit cumbersome, and I'm looking for something different. I've had this bag for like years and years. So if you've got any recommendations for good camera bags that are good for the outdoors, I'd love to hear from them, hear about them down below. Now the reason I wanted to come on this trail today is because it takes in just so much variety. We've had the quarry workings down at the bottom, there's the stream or the river that runs down the mountainside, and now we're in this really lovely woodland. So just lots to take in, lots to photograph. I think if you're not sure of what you're going to find in any given place, like if you're going somewhere new for the first time, then choosing somewhere that has a lot of variety, I think not only makes for a better experience just being outdoors, but gives you more opportunities to get photos as well. Now we're coming up to the main quarry works now, and I just love these landscapes so much. They just evoke such a sense of imagination, and I think there's so much left that is familiar in terms of like some of the houses, the lanes, the gates that we're kind of like walking through now, and it's just a landscape that you can kind of just lose yourself in a little bit. I think it's just really interesting. I mean, you know, a beautiful vista is one thing, and the beauty of the natural world is just always something that I'm drawn to, but when you've got these like man-made elements in the landscapes, these kind of like pockets of history, I suppose, it just makes for just like a really interesting walk. So yeah, looking forward to showing you around here. I think not to be underestimated with these sorts of locations is that, of course, you're mining slate. So if you're going to build some barracks and some buildings around your quarry, then you would inevitably use slate. Seems to make sense. But the difficulty with that is that sometimes your subjects, the foreground, the buildings, kind of blend into the background because it's just slate on slate. And it's very resourceful, you know, absolutely make use of what you have around you. But it does mean compositionally, you do have to work harder to sort of find the shots. But I think here it's just such a wonderful place to explore that that's kind of part of the fun. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about when I would use my viewfinder versus when I would use my kind of rear display or my LCD. I'm not going through every single possible scenario, but these are the things that crop up most often for me and where I find the most value in each part of the camera, I suppose. So firstly, let's talk about the viewfinder. So if we think about light, for example, if we're shooting on a very sunny, bright blue sky day, which we definitely don't have today, then I am much more likely to use my viewfinder wherever possible, because I want to remove that ambient light, because that can impair your perception of whether things are in focus. It doesn't allow you to see in detail about, you know, the edges of your frame and if there's anything kind of like creeping in from the corners. You know, that light can be quite overpowering, and sometimes just looking through your viewfinder just eliminates all of that. You can really kind of focus on what it is that your camera is looking at, and I think that's a great tool. Like I said, finding out what's in focus, you know, if I'm doing any manual focusing, I always try and do that through the viewfinder as much as possible, because I feel like you can be more accurate. And if I do want to check the edges of my frame, if there's a complex composition, then wherever possible, I will try to use the viewfinder. However, it's not always possible to use your viewfinder. Let's talk about if you're shooting at a lower angle, or if your tripod is not, or your shooting position is not at sort of like a comfortable height in terms of like eye level. Then it's not always possible to use your viewfinder. Sometimes then we have to rely on our articulating displays here, because it just allows you to be able to see your composition, you know, without getting yourself into an uncomfortable situation. If you're shooting moving water, if you're doing any focus stacking, you know, if you're on the edge of a riverbank, then you've got to be careful. You don't want to be crouching down and trying to get to your viewfinder, because, you know, you might end up falling in the river or something, and we definitely don't want that. But I do think there are other places where using your rear display is just really, really valuable, and it's something that I think maybe isn't considered very much, but that's all around, I guess, our vision and our perception of what it is we are composing. I think if you're trying to assess whether your composition is well weighted, very well balanced, then I think having a rear display, especially if it articulates, I think that's really, really useful. If we think about a print, for example, right? Say you've got a print on your wall. That is within a very prescriptive frame. Literally, it's in a frame. And often when we look at prints, we look at them from a distance. We don't always see the detail at a distance, but by looking at your images at a distance, what you immediately notice is whether the image is well proportioned. You know, are the elements in your frame well balanced? Do they have good visual weight? Is there an imbalance there? That's something that is sometimes difficult to see if you've got your eye sort of like crammed into your viewfinder and you're sort of like right inside the image almost. Sometimes you do need to take a step back and just look at what you're photographing from a bit of a distance, especially in landscape photography, where we have time sometimes to, you know, take our time and assess a scene. You know, it's not very run and gun, it's a little bit more considered. So often if I have my camera on a tripod, I'll just go back and forth between the viewfinder and the LCD screen, and I'll look at a distance and just look at the screen and think, is what I'm composing balanced? Does it feel like something is too dominant, or does it feel like it is evenly weighted? And I think if you look at your images in that way, I think you inevitably come back with more photos that feel very, very well considered, and that often leads to better photos, in my opinion. So the weather front has come in as I was expecting, but I don't mind it. I always think that locations like this, you know, where it's very moody, it's very dramatic. You almost want that bit of rain, that bit of gloom. It really kind of adds to the, not just the photography, but to the experience as well. But that's why having a good coat is always important. It's all part of the adventure. Bring on the rain, bring on the clouds. I'm ready for it. So apologies guys, today's video may be a little bit all over the place. I have tried to share some tips and add a little bit of value, but I'll be the first to admit, truthfully, that I have been distracted by the photography today, and the video making side of this has definitely taken a back seat. But you know, I'm a photographer first before I'm a YouTuber or, you know, a videographer. It's like being out in the landscape and photographing the landscape is why I do this. So being somewhere like this, you know, it just excites me. I just want to be taking photos, and then sometimes I think, oh man, I've forgotten to film this, I forgot to get B-roll of that. So yeah, it's been a bit all over the place. But I think a big misconception is that, you know, when people see professional photographers like me or people on YouTube, is that they think that we get to do this all the time. But let me tell you, I don't get to come to places like this very often. I wish I could come to places like this more. And because of that scarcity in time and just the, you know, the effort that it takes to come here, I do want to prioritize the photography, and I do want to prioritize enjoying the location. So apologies for that. But I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. I hope you've enjoyed some of the photos. I feel so excited about the photos in today's video. I've not seen them yet. You guys have seen them already. But I'm just so excited to get home and see these on a big monitor, because there have been so many scenes, so many compositions today that I've been genuinely excited about, and I'm looking forward to coming back and exploring this place further. There's loads of really nice, well, the silver birch trees, there's mountain ash, rowan trees, there's some great subjects here that I'm already thinking about autumn, and you know, when the colours turn, there's just going to be so many great photographic opportunities here, so I will definitely be back. But yeah, I just wanted to apologise if this video has been a bit all over the place. I have been selfish today, and I have just enjoyed the photography. And sometimes that's what it's all about. So for anybody who does YouTube, or if you're thinking about doing YouTube and you're a photographer, please make sure that you prioritise the photography above everything else. It's the hardest thing to juggle doing this, is telling a story, doing the video, but also trying to get photos at the same time. Finally, back to the car. So I will wrap it up there for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's adventure in Eryri National Parks. Thanks so much for coming along with me. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of the photography. Let me know what photos were some of your favorites. And as always, guys, your support means the world. So if you can subscribe, ring the bell, just give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment. Anything you're able to do really goes a long way in helping me grow the channel here. And as a thank you for all of your support, stay tuned for next week's video, where I'm going to try and do a bit of a giveaway for you guys. So until then, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you all very soon. Next Wednesday, in fact.